Hey guys, I'm here to bring you another review, another Beast Wars review. This is Predacon's Sea Clamp. Sea Clamp is the third member of a group of Predacons that were sold together, which included Cicadacon and Ramhorn. This is the largest member of that group. He is a crayfish, I believe. You can sort of tell because there's no asymmetry really in his claws, but he is very clearly a decapod crustacean of some sort. His colors are very flat, are quite flat. He's got the same kind of purple in his body as Ramhorn does, but the transparent plastic they use here is more of a muted brownish color. Actually, I think that's a fairly decent choice for a crustacean like this, for well, especially a crayfish. One thing I do like about him is they gave him the two sets of antennae. They're sculpted coming out of the end of his cephalothorax. His eyes are not on stalks, but that's fine. It's not that big a deal, really. You're not expecting perfection out of this. But it is a decent representation of what they were going for. Legs are a little small, but looks good. These are really big pincers, far larger than I would ever suspect. But there's a reason why they're that big. And we'll get into that eventually. But for now, let's get into transforming him. He's also got, these are going to be his robot mode feet, and they are meant to be Europods. These are the plates that they use as fins. They're found in most or all crustaceans. There are, I think, maybe a couple stem crustaceans that don't possess those, but most of them do, in some degree. But anyway, to transform him, he's actually very simple. And we'll start by rotating this section, this back section here, like that, and you can clearly see those are his legs. And the illusion wasn't actually that good to begin with. You could always tell that those were his legs, couldn't you? And you flip these out to create his feet. And I think he stands pretty nicely, but anyway, get up here. The entire cephalothorax here separates, and you get these pieces, which then form enormous shoulder pads. You can clean these up by taking these antennae here, swinging them in like this. See if I can get them all the way in. Yep. And they just swing all the way in. Yep, like that. Maybe you shouldn't necessarily be swinging them directly over this piece here. You don't want to stress the plastic too much. You could, but maybe not. And then these leg bits, obviously, they fold over like that. And you can see that the arms here are just going to be his robot mode arms. And to finish the transformation, flip down this chest piece and pull out his robot mode head. And now Sea Clamp is in his robot mode. He has he's actually got a little bit more going on than some of the others here. He has a handheld weapon, which you can see down here, that white bit. And actually, if you look, there is the rub sign again. And you pull that out. And here's the gun. Yeah, nicely sculpted, actually. Yeah, pretty good. Anyway, you can open up his claws, and you can put this thing in there, I believe. I'm not exactly sure how he's supposed to hold this, but he does actually have another weapon, and they're on both arms. They pull out from his claw on each side, and you get this thing. This great big double-bladed weapon, which, now that I think about it, is a little bit like the one that Ramhorn has. And yeah, so I'll pull out the other one too. And there you go. He's got both of his big bladed weapons out. And now this guy, this weapon doesn't really look like it pegs in anywhere except that back piece. It may actually even be that this is really just intended for a different function and just not really anything specifically having to do with him. You could also have Ramhorn hold it. I mean, this peg is compatible with Ramhorn. And if you remember, those swords that Cicadacon had can plug into these and be fired as missiles. Because, I mean, they all did come together in one set, so they're intended to be used interchangeably. Their accessories are intended to be used together. Yeah, that's something. That's pretty good. So he's the big one of the team, and he's got these massive shoulders, as you can see. He's got decent posability all around. He's the only one with a waist swivel. He's got a waist joint. Yeah. And he is also the only one really that has a I think he's the only one that's got these green eyes. The other two are, I believe, well, the other one, Ramhorn doesn't really have painted eyes, and Cicadacon's, I think, are just red, so he's got a different look. And the sculpting on his face is kind of interesting as well. He's got a sort of Vox grill that's painted white there, and you can see some crustacean-like sculpting, I guess, some detail work in his face, just to make it a little more interesting. It looks good. I like how all of these bits, it's cast, or it's sculpted so that it's quite rough. The carapace here and on his chest, it's not smooth. Even the areas where there aren't these large ridges, it's got this very rough texture to it. That's pretty much all there is to him. But when I was a kid, I always thought he was my favorite, this guy. And if you look, his blade weapons are also cast in a completely different color of transparent plastic. And maybe it's the same color plastic as Ramhorn, which is quite different compared to the rest of the figure. As you can see, it's not the same. Anyway, tell me what you thought. Just rate, comment, and subscribe. We are not finished with these three. There is one other video coming regarding this, and you will see